Hi guys, it's Craig here. I got asked a question recently on YouTube about my music and how I record my music. And thought about how I would answer that because there's been many different ways methods that I've used to record. Everything from using 2 cassette decks and bouncing back and forth to being in a large studio and doing it professionally. But most of my recordings are done at home with my little studio setup. And I've always had some sort of a studio setup. And today what I thought I would do is talk to you a little bit about my recording history and some of the things that I've done. And I've got a whole bunch of audio clips on here of stuff I've done that we're going to just take a quick look at. So this video is probably going to be fairly long. So grab yourself a beer and sit back and just enjoy what I'm going to present to you here. The first thing I want to do is I want to roll this. Just listen to it for a minute and then I'll tell you what it is and all about it. Just take a listen to this while I top up my beer.
There's a feeling over me I just can't forget. Rain's pouring down out of the sky.
Alright, this is me when I was about 15 years old, and it was recorded in the basement of my home where I lived with a 4-track, which I'll talk about in a minute, but this was written when I was about 13 and recorded when I was about 15 years old. So, basically, you know, that particular recording was done on an old Fostex 4-track. It was an X15 Fostex 4-track. You can see a picture of it here. Pretty inexpensive unit. It got me through a lot of songs, and it did a pretty good job. It didn't have the greatest frequency response, but it was okay. And as you can hear, it's a pretty clear sound. The rain, I went outside when it was raining one day and it obviously just recorded the rain and the thunder, so that's how that got in there. The drum machine that I used was a Yamaha RX15 unit. I no longer have that either, but here's a shot of it here. It was pretty crappy drum machine, but what the heck? I mean, that's all I had was a paper route. So, what else could I do? So, in this video, I just want to talk to you about how I've gone about recording over the years. Let you sample a little bit of the stuff, the music I've recorded, the old stuff, maybe a little bit of the new stuff. So just sit back and let's do this. So before I got my first 4-track, what I used to do is I would get 2 tape decks, like, those old cassette decks with the meters, 2 of those, and I would probably borrow one from somebody, and I had my own. And what I would do is I would record something on the first tape deck, right, tape deck 1, and then I would copy that from tape deck 1 to tape deck 2, and as I was copying that, I would add in something, another track, with a little mixer that I had. And I would just keep doing that back and forth from 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 1, and when I was going from 2 to 1, I'd add something else. And if you did that about 4 times, or any more than 4 times, you ended up getting a terrible degradation. But that's some of the first ways that I used to record. Unfortunately, those recordings have been lost, and I can't get them back. The cassette that I had of those has been, I gave it to somebody to listen to, and I never ended up getting it back, and it's my own fault for lending out my only copy of some of my work. But anyways, so once I got the 4-track, then of course with a 4-track, what you do is you've got 4 independent channels, and you can record on one channel, and then you can listen to that recording, and as you're listening to it, you can, like as you're playing back track 1, let's say, you can record on track 2 as you're listening to track 1. So you can add and layer. And that's how I did the vocals in It's Raining, because you can hear there's more than one of me singing, right? And so I used that X15 4-track for quite some time. Here's some shots of my studio. There's me programming the RX15 drum machine. Now, I had a perm at this time. I was 19 when this video was recorded. This video was recorded by Channel 11 News in my city here. The perm was obviously something that was an 80s thing, and wow, it's just, there it is. Me banging out something on the keyboard, and of course they interviewed me, so I was talking about things. So I ended up recording songs like this. This one's called In the Summer, and it's done again with the RX15 drum machine and the X15 Fostex 4-track. Again, I was probably about 15 when I did this one. In the summer, can't get enough. In the summer. You know, I didn't always have a keyboard, and before I had a keyboard, I had to go to department stores and play their keyboards. And I remember one time with this particular song that I'm going to play some of here. It's a ballad. It's kind of it's called I'm Sorry. It's a slow song or whatever. But I didn't have a keyboard, so what I did was I went to the department store where they had a Yamaha portable keyboard, and I took a little, like a tape recorder, and I kind of sneakily hooked it up to this keyboard and played my track, my keyboard track, and recorded it in the store. And then I took all that stuff home, the tape and the machine with the recording on it, and I added the drum track and the vocals and everything else. So this was partially recorded in a department store. Your eyes, first thing I see is unending love and affection. So that towards me, pad you hear there, you know I care, that's recorded in Eaton's department store downtown. I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry. So how did I do that? Well, I took the track that I recorded at Eaton's and I put it on my 4-track, and then I tried my best to... I used a rhythm, like a metronome thing, when I recorded the keyboards, so I was able to line up the keyboards with the drum track quite easily just by pitching, using pitch controls or using the tempo controls on the drum machine. And then I just added the rest of my tracks. Recording is the same, you know. You asked me how I did it. Well, I just do it the same as everybody else. I multi-track. That's by using several tracks to record several different things. And again, this is the X15 4-track, the same 4-track I originally told you about. And now this song here, this song was one of the first songs that really caught the attention of my family, my parents, and I think later on this is one of the songs that actually caused the whole '88 Olympic thing, where I wrote a song for CBC Television's documentary, and it was about the Olympics, Dream on the Horizon. You can actually watch that on my YouTube channel. It's there somewhere. Same drum machine, same 4-track.
My heart's in your hands, but they don't understand.
And I had like an echo delay system too, an analog delay unit that I put the echo on my voice there. So now that keyboard there is actually the same keyboard I went to the department store and used. I actually ended up buying the keyboard afterwards. My mom bought it for me. I guess she didn't want me having to go to the department store to record my music, so that's called The Battle Goes On. That was a good one. And so Again, here we think we're stepping up here. Oh, this was the first song that I actually recorded with my DX7. I'm just going to try to find the right spot here. I still have my DX7. I don't know if you can see it. It's back here. Or maybe I'll take a close-up of it. But I got this DX7 when I was 18. And I think I got it because I graduated high school. And so my brother and sister both got cars. I got a $2,000 keyboard, so I was happy. So I've obviously written about a girl. Most of the songs back then were.
And I'm just holding on, like just keep going on. You gotta believe when I say that I need you.
I did get a lot of mileage out of that old 4-track, that X15 4-track. Oh, here's another. My mother used to love this song.
In hope to make you feel the way I do. This song can make you smile, and this song might make you cry. I can't pretend, hope you understand this song.
That was written about a girl, and I think most of them were at the time. You know, when you're a teenager, you got all that going on. But that song has a new additional sound processing. It's got a lot of reverberation in it, and I actually purchased a spring reverb. And just to briefly tell you what reverb is what you hear when you go into a big room or a bathroom or something, and you go whoo whoo, and you hear that echo. In fact, you might be able to hear it with the drums over here. Woo! Woo! Right? So the drums are obviously reverberating, okay? Resonating. And what a spring reverb does is it's a unit that has a series of springs inside. And the sound goes in to a little vibrating, the sound vibrates a little unit in there that vibrates the springs, and then at the other end of the springs there's another little unit that picks up those vibrations and loops it back into the signal, so you get this reverberation. And that's what you're hearing here when you hear my vocals. The reverberation you're hearing, the echo, is actually a bunch of springs.
There have been songs of love and songs of pain. Well, I feel I've done my share, but here I go.
And so that's one of the newer things I bought, and still had the same 4-track, still had the same drum machine, all the same stuff, just got the new reverb. And once I realized, you know, I took the reverb apart, actually, because that's what I do, take things apart. And I was looking at the springs, and I was thinking, you know, like, I'd like a shorter sound. I don't want a big, long reverb sound like that, like what you just heard. I'd like a shorter sound, more of like a smaller room-like thing. So I thought, well, what if I just take some Kleenex or something, and I put it in between the springs to dampen them a little bit so that they won't vibrate so long and I'll get a shorter sound. Well, that's how I got the drums to sound like this.
Oh, yeah.
So you can hear the snare drum's got like a room on it, you know, like a room effect.
Yeah. So scared to face the truth. It's a shame, the ignorance of your youth. I've tried to make you realize.
So that's, you know, that's some of the experimentation I did with things like that, and that's what I would do. I only had a certain amount of money and certain, you know, equipment, so I had to do what I could with what I had. And that's basically what they do in studios when they used to have big plates. It's called EMT, plate reverb. And they'd have them down in the basement of the studio. They'd be about the size of a door on its side. And these plates were suspended, and it was the same idea. They would use these plates to reverberate and make the reverberation sound. And they would pull in dampers so that if you wanted a shorter reverb, they would pull these dampers in to dampen the vibrations of the plates to make them, so it's a smaller, kind of a smaller room sound. So eventually I got a new 4-track, and this is the 4-track that I used to record this song.
Since you touched my arm that night, as time went soaring by,
So you put a tape in here,
see your light.
somehow you open it. There we go. Here. You put a cassette in there, and then you've got 4 tracks, 4 independent tracks to record, and you can do bouncing, which I'll explain to you in a second. But this is the sound anyway.
I need just a little more. Will you give me the love I'm looking for?
I was 18 when I recorded this song. So basically what you do is you record, just like I explained to you earlier, you record something on track 1, okay, and then when you play that back, you can listen to that, and as you're listening to it, you can record another thing on track 2, and then you can listen to both of those at the same time and record another thing on track 3, and then what you can do, you can take all those 3 tracks and copy them over to track 4 and basically combine them or comp them. And then you can pull these down, and now you've got all that stuff on one track here, track 4, and you can start over again and listen to track 4, which has all those other 3 tracks on it. Listen to that track and start recording on track 1 again, and track 2. Eventually you can get 7 tracks, I think, out of that. And if you do another bounce, you can get another 8 or another couple of tracks out of it. I don't know, forget how that works, but that's my old 4-track, and I probably will never get rid of that. Got me through a lot of songs. This particular song was the first, one of the first ones I ever did in a big recording studio. So this is a professional 24-track recording.
Why you telling me goodbye? Can't you see the tears in my eyes? Oh, after all that we've shared, you told me you cared, and I believe.
You may have heard this one already because it's already on my channel. I just want to tell you some funny stories though, because speaking of trying to get reverb sounds and things like that, before I got that spring reverb unit, there was a mini mall nearby my house, and I was about 16 at the time. And I really wanted to get this certain reverb sound. I didn't have that spring reverb that I talked about. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I snuck out of the house. I knew that this little mini mall was open. There was just like a tunnel that went through. There was no, you couldn't get into any stores or anything like that. But they kept this tunnel open, and man, did it ever have the best sounding reverb in it. So I took my 4-track, and I knew there was an outlet, an electrical outlet in the tunnel. Took my 4-track, my microphone, a stand, and a pair of headphones into this little tunnel at 4 o'clock in the morning and recorded a song, like did the singing for the song in that little tunnel to try and get the effect of the reverb. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out very well because you need 2 microphones to do that. You need one microphone on you, and you need another microphone way across the room picking up the reverberation. So I wasn't able to get it to work, but at least I tried. And another funny story is that when I used to record my songs, and this happened with Battle Goes On, my mom would often be upstairs doing something in the kitchen or even sitting in the bathroom, and we had like my room downstairs had heat ducts, you know, where the heat used to come out from the furnace, and that joined to the heat duct in the bathroom. And so we could talk to each other through that. Like I'd be like, "Mom, when's supper ready?" She'd say, "You know, in a minute, you know." And so I used to get like sort of, sometimes I'd finish recording a track, you know, and I'd stop the tape, and I'd either get like a, "Hey, that was good, keep that one," or I'd get like a, No, I think you better do that one over again. So he'd yell down through the heating system. So that was a really funny. That used to happen all the time. I'd get like yay or nay from the upstairs crowd, you know, the family. So that was a real cool thing. The room still is there. The room is still there, and some of my stuff that I had hanging on the wall is still they left. It's all still there. When I met my wife, we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment, and actually moved into a 1-bedroom apartment first, and then we moved up to a 2. And so one of the bedrooms was my studio. So I had like my own little room with pretty much the same equipment I have here: mixer, drum machines, a couple of keyboards and stuff. And I recorded this song. This was about 2 weeks. This song was written about 2 weeks after we met, and then it was recorded once we moved in together.
Just one touch, just one day, yeah. Oh, oh. And I somehow knew our hearts would find a way.
I used this 4-track for the song as well.
Just one touch, just one kiss. I know I've never felt like this. No, no. With just one touch, I count every moment till I see you again. My heart is filled with you.
That song actually really does it to me every time, because it was a very special time when I met my wife, and it was written for her. And okay, here we go. Craig Tube's crying, great, but it's.
Oh yeah, and I somehow knew our hearts would find a way, yeah. With just one touch, just one kiss, I know I've never felt like this. No, 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 no.
Got to be one of my favorites out of all of my stuff. It's a great song. But just, as far as where I recorded my stuff, there's a song I've got on my YouTube channel called "Losing My Head Over You." You may have seen the video where I've got like 3 of me, and I used a green screen to do that. That song was recorded. That particular version of it was recorded in a studio, but this version of it was recorded in a closet. It's the same song. It's just it was a demo version.
Long nights lead to hopeful days, and sometimes it's hard to keep my faith. There was a time when I was living my dream.
Yeah, the vocals aren't perfect. But this time I had a reverb, a little micro, or Alesis mini verb. I think it was called a micro verb or something like that. Just a little box that had electronic reverberation instead of springs. And the same with the multi-tracking. I mean, I'm still using the same 4-track I've got sitting down beside me here. But as you'll hear in a second, the layering of voices that I was able to do just by bouncing tracks, which I explained.
That I can't live without my baby. I hear the rain again. I feel the pain, and then I'm losing my head over you. Still love you, baby. I think I've done my time. Can't get you off my mind.
By this time, I had a different set of drum machines. I still have actually, Yamaha. I forget what the model is. It's over there. I can't get to it. And a Roland TR-707, which is a great drum machine for its time. Beautiful sound. You can see it. I think you can see that the beige drum machine. Let me go this way. so you can see that beige drum machine back there. The one that's standing up. That's the TR-707 from Roland. It's a great one. And so, you know, this is just some of the stuff I've done. And so basically what I've wanted to tell you is that what the whole purpose of this video is to say that the way I record has changed over the years. And it's not like I can just sit and tell you, well, this is how I do it. It's something that, it's a bit of a learning curve. And, you got to know about sound, you got to know about processing, compression, microphones, equalization, and different things. Of course, now when I record, I don't use a tape anymore. I use software. So now I record onto the computer, so it's all digital. And I use a program called Steinberg Cubase. And there's lots of different programs out there for the Windows and the Mac, but that's the one I like. It's quite complicated. You have to have some background in recording engineering before you can understand how this program works. And I have worked in several recording studios. One of them I actually ran for a couple of years. I was the main guy there doing all the recordings. It doesn't matter where you are. It matters what equipment you've got and how you can utilize the equipment. I was using like a $200 4-track in the beginning to get some of those songs out. And if you know how to use a 4-track properly and really stretch it to get as much out of it as you can come out with some pretty good recordings. And I think I managed to achieve that most of the time because I was very fanatical about sound and quality. So just to top things off here, I'm going to put a link at the end of the video to a website that you can download some of my music from. And you're welcome to download it and share it and listen to it on your iPod or whatever. It's copyrighted, so I'm not worried about anyone stealing it. Go ahead and do what you want with that. But you may recognize this if you've been watching some of my later brewing videos. This is actually a song called Devil in Your Eyes. And you didn't hear the vocal parts, you just heard the instrumental parts. So here's some of the vocal parts.
Never felt this way before. Never in all my years. Never thought that love could grow into the hatred we have here.
This was recorded in a 32-track digital recording studio, probably about 10 years ago. And the drummer and the bass player from the Ian Thomas Band actually did the drums and bass for this tune. We had some great musicians on this one. Great guitarist, Michael Hampson. Great drummer from the Ian Thomas Band and bass player. I forget their names, but. And finally, just to top things off, again, you may recognize this song. If you've ever watched my Craig's Kitchen video series, you've heard this. And this is actually a song called Ever Beating Heart. It was done on this 4-track down here. Good quality.
How still the night can be when she's alone. She's been through the dark before.
Skip to the chorus here and show you the layering I was able to do with the 4-track with all the voices.
Oh yeah. Sometimes you gotta listen to that ever-beating heart. I know you've never done before, but it's time you start.
And basically with this I used, again, it was recorded in a bedroom. And I have a Roland U220 sound module here, and so that's where I got the the piano sounds and the strings and all that stuff. But the little known secret to this tune, and that might be why it's actually been noted as sounding a little bit like a John Cicada tune, I actually sampled the snare drum from a John Cicada song and used it in there. So that might be why, one of the reasons why it actually sounds a lot like a John Cicada tune. I'm not actually sure which one, but I was listening to him at the time, and I guess I got a little bit of an influential thing happening there. So that's what I wanted to do here, you guys. I just wanted to share a little bit of the history of what I did, not just making beer and wine and things like that, but the main part of my life, the number one thing that I've done since I was a very young child was sing and play music and write music and play instruments. And that's been something that I can't really imagine myself not being able to do. It's been a big part of my life. And so I've really enjoyed it. All the recordings I've done, I remember pretty much each and every one of them and where it was done and how it felt at the time. And, you know, as you can imagine, when I listen to some of my older songs, it really brings back that era. Just like when you smell an old cologne or an old perfume, and it brings back the memory. Well, I'm going to leave you now with a little bit of a surprise. This is something kind of unexpected, but this is me singing when I was 4 years old. Take care. Thanks for watching. Sorry the video was so long, but I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.
I remember the time in the old swimming hole when I would have drowned without help. Old chap was right there, to the rescue he came, and he jumped in and helped me out. Now old chap, he knew he was going to go, for he looked up and licked at my hand. For he looked up at me just as much as to say, we're parting, but I understand. With a hand that was trembling, I picked up my gun. I aimed